What's up, Stephanie?
What's up,
I have
Holden?
no idea how to properly say your last name.
Araujo.
Araujo. I
The
know
the second A is silent, so it's just
Araujo.
Araujo. Very
Stephanie
simple.
Araujo
Yeah.
from Stephanie's Bakery.
Yep.
From doing all the merch stuff with the no regards. From being out there entrepreneuring. I argue you are like the girl bosses that the Instagram people say, but like not the memes. But like
the
the
real
real
ones.
life version of what the memes say to be.
Yeah.
And based on attitude and hustle and everything I encountered. So this is Bridge the Gap. My name is Holden Stephan Roy. And while we do talk to a lot of rappers and stuff, we try to talk to interesting people and go through the stories of their life and try to extract some knowledge nuggets along the way. And yeah, here you are being an interesting person.
Well, I appreciate you thinking that I'm an interesting person, and yeah, I mean, like we hear so much about this hustle mentality, and it's a good thing to have. It's also sometimes a little bit toxic trait because some people don't know how to relax. But I try to be someone that like tries to use her free time as much as possible to like find ways to better your life, and like if you're not working towards eventually getting stuff so that you don't have to work again or do things that don't feel like work, then like what are you doing? Like we were having this conversation just before about like people want to stay broke or are just very okay in their mediocrity, which is okay, but it's just I'm just not that person.
I'd say it's only okay if you don't complain. It's when you start complaining it becomes. I'm just gonna throw it out. That's when I'm like, yo, you
That's
can't
a good
be
point.
complaining and then be like stuck in your mediocrity. That's a whole side thing. Typically, I ask the musician people to say an opening question, and you're connected enough to music that I feel like it would be fun enough to ask you
Yeah, I
the
love
same
music.
opening question. And it's a little bit of a doozy, a little story. It all starts off with my girlfriend.
Yes.
And when before we get there, can you just let the people know where you come from? It's actually a context point relevant to the question, like where your life starts.
Oh yeah, well I mean I was born and raised here,
And here is
Montreal.
fact.
And my dad was born in Montreal. My mom was born in Portugal, but my dad's whole family was born in Portugal. They just started immigrating here, and they had him in Montreal to make it easier for them to process their move here, I guess. So I'm like fully Portuguese, but technically, if you want to like consider it, I'm half Portuguese, half Canadian, because my dad was born here. But it's like he was born there, basically. It's really just a technicality. So, but I'm born and raised Portuguese Canadian.
That's fair. What part of Montreal you come from in the little days?
So I grew up in Miland, so like Plateau area, like Saint Viator Bagel was like next door to me.
Let's just leave it there. We're gonna get through it. Trust.
Yeah,
We're gonna
yeah.
start with that.
Yeah.
So we come from Montreal, Milan, whatnot. I see you, DJ Crystal Clear. I'm ignoring you. Anyway, sometimes DJ Crystal Clear, he likes to come through and say some absurdities to get some attention. I fucks with him, but sometimes he gives absurdities. But so you into Milan. And the opening question kind of ties into that, so everybody keep that in mind when you're listening to this. My girlfriend, though, she'd be washing the dishes one time, and she got her phone playing, and she's playing that Black Eyed Peas song, the I Got a Feeling. Ooh. She's vibing, she's dancing, she's doing her thing. I look at her, and I start thinking, when the fuck did this song become chores music? And I say that because, like...
It's like, oh, you feel old.
It's a little bit, yeah, that was a part of it. But the other part of it was just, like, this serious epiphany on it, though. Like, once upon a time, this song, especially in Montreal, was that, like, everybody in a circle jumping up and down when this shit came. And it was always a circle here. And everybody would be jumping up and down and singing this shit in unison and shit. And it was, like, a highlight of the night kind of song. And then 10 years goes by, and the song doesn't change at all.
And here we are washing dishes.
Because that's what happens. We evolved the song into like proper dishes washing music.
Yeah.
And because it brings us back to the happy times. It brings us back to being that person that is like, in the clubs or whatever while we're doing all this. And I think that was a super interesting phenomenon to find, is that it also making me think about the little ones and 20-year-olds that be running around with the pop smokes and whatnot, and they don't even know that one day that's what they're going to be doing dishes to.
Yeah, the Gen Zers, they'll be doing dishes to Pop Smoke.
Just like the truth is we do dishes to Pop Smoke after finding out about it. That's what happens. That's just the cycle of life. But it got me thinking about just, people's journeys through life.
Yeah.
And even though like you're not necessarily in music per se, but like the journeys of life that people talk about with the significance of the different phases they go through, like everybody kind of starts it off in the adolescent era, like, yo, I turned like 12 and I got this, that, the next thing going on, or I got passionate about this, and it's often formed around forming that identity. But what I realized, especially when musicians were talking about their stuff, is that like the story doesn't really start at that point. It kind of like starts like super early, like if you think about music, it kind of is something you absorb from like time, like from when you're really, really young and shit. So you come out in the hospital, wherever it may be, and there's probably a song playing type thing. And like, I can remember being like 5 in like St. Luke and whatnot. And like, my dad's got all the gray boxes around the apartment. And like, they're the preamp and the amp and the radio and the tape deck and the wires going to all the different speakers and all the different things like that. And be busting his Led Zeppelins and things like that in like the fucking daytime. But at nighttime, it's MC Mario and the fucking club mix and all that shit that would be dominating the radio waves. And my mom's was more like love musics and discos and that kind of vibes and musicals. And it was like all these different things kind of collectively formed this vibe and environment around me and kind of formed a lot of my habits before I even had any real taste in the matter of any of it.
Right.
So I was hoping, Stephanie, because I know you do have a little bit of music in your adventure, you could bring us back to being the youngest Stephanie you can remember being and talk to us a little bit about some of the musics and sounds and things that were going on in your home when you was a little one. And can you pass the lighter?
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, gladly. I owe a lot of it to my younger brother, actually. To this day, he's still someone who's very much music focused and into the underground stuff. So, I mean, me and Brandon we're two white little Portuguese kids born at our mom's house. Our parents recently separated really young. I think I was maybe about 10 or 11, and all we did was listen to BET. Like, don't ask me why we weren't. I mean, we were listening to much music and MTV and stuff, but for some reason, the music we resonated more with was always BET. We watched 106 in Park. We were big fans of like just like hip hop and rap and all that stuff. And J. Cole's my favorite rapper to this day. And the reason I like J. Cole so much is because my brother was listening to J. Cole before he was J. Cole, and I got hooked on that. And then he started doing shows in Montreal, and then like now he's like considered like top 3. Like with Drake and Kendrick. So it's like that was
it's like straight up being here being like, yeah, I was a J. Cole fan before it was cool to be a J. Cole fan.
Yeah, literally. I mean, like I've been to his Metropolis shows, those like little indie shows that they do here. There was the Club Sodas, like those, like he had a lot of those. So like the first time he sold out the Bell Center, he had kind of said, I appreciate every single one of you filling this center right now. But he said, only about 500 of you really know where I come from, So it's been a wild music ride, but I've always been a fan of hip hop, R&B. I mean, I had the posters in my wall. I liked anything from like Britney Spears and Backstreet Boys to Beyonce, Destiny's Child, and Eminem. I was listening to all of that. I just like good music, but I had the pop. I appreciate the mainstream. I'm a Backstreet Boys fan at heart. We camped out in -30 weather in January once for tickets, me and my cousins and stuff. But it was the Beyoncés, the Rihannas, the Eminem. Growing up, that was my music taste.
And like when you were like real young, let's say like pre-10, what were some of the things that a little Stephanie got herself up to?
Oh, I'm like the biggest nerd. I would just read Harry Potter books and I was a big reader. I read a lot of books. Actually, I'm a little bit, every time I see you post your book stuff, I'm like, you know what? I was like, Holden's gonna get me reading books again, and I got to get back on that. But it's like one of those simple adult luxuries I feel like I don't have because I'm so busy. But I used to stay up till like 6 a.m. with a flashlight reading books. I shared a room with my sister, and that was my thing. My mom brought me to Indigo at midnight on Halloween for one of the releases of the Harry Potter books, and I went by myself and I just made friends with like random kids on the second floor of Indigo, and we went for the release of the book, and that was my stuff. It was the Scholastic Book Fairs. That was that was the I aged myself with that one a little bit there, but the Scholastic Book Fairs. I always wanted a new book.
Like Destiny's Child and all that. To be honest, I'm not gonna lie, you just like dropped it. That was a real specific time period to grow up. But now, like the Scholastic Book Fair is lit. That's a real cool thing. So you was just like a homebody reader,
Yeah,
banging
yeah.
all that shit out.
Yeah, I mean, like, the summer camp was fun. We would go. My dad was very heavily involved with Sun Youth. He coached hockey. My mom and her partner at the time were involved in the football aspect of Sun Youth. They have a great basketball program for the women and the men, but I wasn't really involved with the basketball, but for football and hockey. Growing up, that was a thing, and then we just went to summer camp there. So all of the friends that I would make and stuff, summer camp, we would go to the pools, we would do outings, and they have a sleepaway camp up north with horses and stuff. So like that was just, I had a very simple childhood. Like I
You
mean,
went to sleepaway camps with horses and shit.
yeah, it's about 2 hours away. It belongs to Sun Youth. They have like some cabins up there and a big mess hall and stuff, and it was a fun experience. I wish I did it more.
Yeah, sleepaway camp's actually
Yeah.
pretty fire. Nobody talks about sleepaway camp. It's like, it's never come up. That's cool.
Yeah, yeah.
So nobody camped outside for Harry Potter like that before. But yo, I remember that. That's really. if
Yeah,
there was ever
I'm a
thing.
big Harry Potter / Sailor Moon /
Sailor Moon. Say a word. I remember that. That
Yeah.
was some good
I
times.
have a Sailor Moon tattoo.
Which
Two
one?
of them actually. This is Sailor Jupiter, which is just the wand, and I actually have the Sailor Moon on my ankle.
That's pretty dope.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I got yo, shout out Neved. Neved's up in fucking somewhere in the States. I can't remember though. He's fucking real smart, and it's cool to have you here, Neved. That's the beauty of Twitch, is the live aspect of
Yeah,
it.
no, I love Twitch. I mean, I got it. I only know, like, I know about Twitch because everyone knows about Twitch, but I never really use it until watching your stuff. And I think just the whole aspect of it with, like, how you guys do the raids too at the end and, like just kind of raid people. I never knew what that was. And I'm like, oh, that's really cool. It's kind of like, hey, like, show the love to this person or that person, Like, yeah, it's a cool concept.
It's really different than other kinds of content. Like, let's say like YouTube and Facebook and all of this shit. It's super algorithmic. But yo, somebody like you, I don't know if you'd be open to it just because you make cakes and shit. If you would be like all up on the, I don't know if I should hold the mic. But like, if you would be all up on Twitch with the fucking cakes and shit, like just filming yourself making cakes every
Yeah.
time you did that shit, you'd
Yeah.
probably make more money than all of us
Yeah.
artists.
Me and
Not
Holden have
even
had these
lying.
conversations a lot about YouTube and cake streaming and stuff, and I'm always like, yeah, I don't know, we'll see. I'm gonna see. I'm moving soon, not far. Just like I'm actually gonna be on fielding now, so I'll be like just a few more minutes away, but after the move, I really want to focus my direction and figure out like my direction for the rest of the year because we've all had to pivot. It's COVID. We're all adjusting. Like Quebec kind of shitty right now. Like kind of forget that I can just kind of swear on this podcast
You
because it's
can
just
swear.
whatever.
You're
But like
literally holding a
it's
blunt.
like yeah, right. Like it's fucking shit here right now. As I'm hearing the snow removal sirens in the back here because this is Montreal and this is where we live.
Yeah.
But I really have to pivot a little bit and see what my focus is going to be because like at this point the cakes run itself and I do it like it's like a whole Pandora's box. I love doing cakes, but also I was very scorned after what happened with the bakery.
Yeah, so let's go through this properly.
Yeah.
You got scoring. That's like a spoiler. Now y'all gonna
Yeah.
have to wait till we get back to the scoring.
Yeah, right.
So basically, like, I don't know what you got up to. Let's say as you move into the more high school ages. Like,
Yeah.
believe it or not, people give a fuck about the weird hobbies and things that you got up to in your summer camp stories and stuff. So whatever anecdotes or high school passions and things like that you got up to that you be willing to share, I promise anybody that give a fuck about your journey gives a fuck about that stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, I went to 2 different high schools and 2 different elementary schools. I'm still best friends with the girl that I was best friends with in my second elementary school, which I spent like grade 5 and grade 6. She, I don't want to say for like 16 years now we've been friends, and I went to JFK first and then Lauren Hill after.
Like all the way in Rosemount, JFK?
Yeah. My cousin went there, and she was like this really popular girl at JFK, and we lived in a triplex. We're like in Plateau, like in Mile End area. It's like it's like
Okay.
little Portugal, right? So everybody has like so we had like an intergenerational home. My grandparents were on the first floor, my aunt was on the second floor, and we were on the third. And my aunt
fire.
had kids. Yeah, it was really great growing up. My aunt's kids were 4 years older than me and my brother. And then my other two aunts ended up having kids like only 10 years later. So like the four of us grew up like siblings basically. And she was just my 4-year older cousin in high school. She was like super hot, and I would see her get dressed to go to high school. And it was just like, I couldn't wait to go to high school. So I really wanted to go to her high school because of the experience that I would get from her when she'd come home. And I'd wait for her every day after school to see when she's coming home from school and stuff. And so I forced my parents to let me go there, and they didn't want me to go there because it's a shit school and it's a shit neighborhood. Like we're in Saint Michel, like there's a lot of crime, so I did that for 3 years, started smoking a lot of weed at JFK. My dad will say that it's because of where I was. But then when I changed schools, my mom moved to Ville Saint Laurent. My brother got into Lauren Hill to start Sec 1. And the thing is about Lauren Hill is once your sibling is in, you are automatically accepted. So they had no choice to accept me. So I joined in Sec 4. My mom had moved to Ville Saint Laurent. We were going to be there now. And it was great. I had a really great experience. I met some really great friends there. But within the first...
So you were like, because Lauren Hill split, right? Like 7, 8,
yeah,
9
so
is
it's like
one school.
Yeah.
So you just came in with just the grown-ups.
Yeah, exactly. I came in like, and everybody was in this new campus, right? Or like I think it's 1, 2, and then 3, 4, 5 actually. Sec 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I think it's what it is. But it was really fun. So I came in like in Sec 4 already.
It's an English school. I actually go. Okay, so when I'm on.
Yeah, it's on Côte too.
If you've ever heard me talk about terrifying teenage high school girls, it's Lauren Hill girls on the bus. Because when I go to work on the bus, I go by Lauren Hill in the morning.
Right.
So you got like a bunch of teenagers all around, like packed into the
hilarious.
bus. And then there's one stop, and all the old ones get off.
Yeah.
And then the next stop, all the little ones get
off. Yeah.
And it's like 2 separate stops, so it's like 2 campuses,
like
a block and a half
they're
away.
like 2 blocks away from each other. Yeah.
And that's cool though.
But it's funny because like my point was that I go to Lauren Hill, and within the first week, I'm caught smoking weed like a few blocks from school with like these friends that I've made. And like I was like, of course, like looking back on my life, I'm like, these little things make me chuckle because I'm like, I found the stoners in like 5 days or less, like at my new high school. Like it didn't take me very long. And so somebody, like the teacher caught us, but we were not on school property, but it's just like, it was very taboo still then, and we were kids. So they brought me to the principals, and it was more like I was associating with people who were smoking weed. I was not the actual one smoking weed, but I was high as shit. Like,
so you were just like guilty by association.
Yeah. So then
proof.
I had to like bring something home to my dad to sign, just to say like I was associating. I was not actually caught smoking weed. And my dad was just kind of like, he already like knew I smoked weed. And he was just like, like a week. He's like, you really couldn't give me a week in this new school? And he thought it was going to be different because, it's like a private school, like semi-private school. We have a uniform. Like we wear those cute little like girl skirts, like we have cute, like our outfit's cute, like not to sexualize children, but like, like it's just they're cute. And like I remember like liking to like look cute to go to school to, hang out with your friends and stuff. And social media wasn't even like that big of a thing yet. Facebook was just about like
Facebook
starting to
like when we're in grade 11. I think we're the same age.
It got popular when I was in grade 11, but I was already hearing about it in grade 10 a little bit, but like I didn't really have it. And but then when we were in Sec 5, like our grad year, like Facebook was like the thing everybody should have. Yeah.
And then by like a year later it hit Abbott. I just know it was about a year after that Abbott got it. And then my girlfriend at the time was like, no, you can't have Facebook.
Yeah.
And then a year later, we both got Facebook.
So, yeah, that's my smoking weed story. And actually, the first person I ever smoked weed with was my best friend that I'm still best friends with. And she has now 3 kids, and I have 1. And we always hang out with our kids now, and we still just go roll a small.
I had no idea you were going to take it in I just got high in high school direction. Yeah. I just wasn't expecting that, but I fucks with it. And I mean, you make cakes now, so it seems like there's a correlation in life between stonerism and cake making.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, look, we all know Lance has he's exhausted every metaphor possible for cakes and addiction and sugar and, and the references to, like crack and stuff like that and all that stuff. But, it's easy to, because like edibles are becoming so popular also. And we're not allowed doing them here, but it's always been a thing that it's like, it's so interchangeable. And for me, like cake making is just, it takes its time that it's going to take. Whether I have 1 cake or 5 cakes, I have usually a 3-day window to get it done. So it's like those 3 days are doing cakes regardless, whether I'm doing 1 or whether I'm doing 5, because it's in steps. So if I have 5 cakes to bake, I'm going to bake all 5 at the same time. If I have 1, I'm going to bake 1. So it's like my steps are the same. It's just the volume in each step. So for me, it's like it's a process each time. And like I work from home, and it's really great that I'm able to like kind of still kind of have this business that runs itself from home, because we have such a good following on Facebook and on social media and stuff. But like it was really an experience, just like kind of growing that. And like Lance was a big part of that.
So like, yeah, I definitely think we're gonna get through all that. So like, what happens after high school then? Do you go into CEGEP with any like, what do you want to be when you grow up at that point? Like,
So
what are you thinking?
for me, I'm not to, a lot of people hate on the zodiacs, not to hate on the zodiacs, but like I'm a Libra, and I say I'm very indecisive. And looking back on, I could never make a decision about something. So I used to draw a lot, hence why for me it was easy to turn that art into cakes, because like I just have like a natural creativity to like to draw or to like create art and stuff, like, because art is so vast. But I thought about maybe doing interior designing, or like, just like drawing plans and stuff, because I helped my parents kind of like design their kitchen remodel and the addition that we had like a cold room in the back, and they kind of wanted to enclose it and make it a balcony. And my stepmom couldn't really explain to the contractor what it was. So I had it all designed, like I did it, and he was able to create it. Like I literally made that. So I was just like, this is interesting. I could do this. So I thought that my natural talent, and I went with it. But not realizing that like I can have that natural talent in so many different aspects. So I just started doubting myself. As like, what am I going to do? Because like there's so many things that I feel like I could be good at, because I just learn things. I love to learn new things all the time. So I always say jack of all trades, master of none. But like the actual real saying of that is because like even though like a jack of all trades is a master of none, like he is still like better than the master of one. Like so it's interesting, because I'm like I like to learn everything, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I went to like an open house at like LaSalle College for one thing, for fashion design. I did another one for interior design at Dawson, I think. And like this, just like I was there and I just didn't feel it. Like everybody was looking so excited and all that, and I'm just like, I don't have the same excitement for this stuff. And then I have to have I want to be able to like learn, and I can do that only when I'm passionate about what I'm doing. And I'm just like, ugh. So I went into Vanier. I did communications. And it was like a very passive.
Can you break down what communications is? It's one of those courses where like it sounds like it's inherent, but it's not inherent what the fuck communications is. So once you've gone through communications, it's just like one of those vague.
It's basically ones. Like, because like everyone does social studies, right? So everyone gets into social when they don't really know what they're doing, just as a basic, right? Like just to have a basic education. It's basically like social studies, but like think anything like journalism, communications, videos, radio. It's more on like a technical aspect. So it gives you a lot of access to having classes that were centered around music or, photography, sculpting, like that. So it is more the creative side of just being at school and being in books all day and learning about like social studies of people. Like, I kind of just went that direction because the classes were more appealing to me, to not feel like it was school. Just if I was going to take classes, do something that I would like to learn.
So arguably, people who took communications back then are fucking valuable today.
Oh yeah, because like if you want to be a journalist, you take communications in CEGEP. If you want to be a video editor or work for that's the one that you take, because it gets you more experience going up to college. To university after, if you're going to take another course or something like that.
So that's dope. So did you get to work on anything fire while you were in CEGEP?
One of my favorite sculptures I've ever made was a headless mermaid. That she's just kind of perched up and she's like topless and has like it was painted white porcelain, and then the tail was green. I'm like a huge fan of like Little Mermaid, Disney and stuff. So that was my sculpture that I made, and it was beautiful. I don't know where it is to this day, but I have a picture somewhere in my phone, like deep in the archives of the iPhone iCloud library somewhere. But yeah, that was one of my favorite things that I ever did. In Vanier, we also did I did a wire sculpture where you just have to like twist wires to kind of like do that. That one was pretty cool too, but it was annoying to make. But I really enjoyed just being hands on, and like I actually wish I took the photography class because I didn't take it. I did more like studies about music, and I did psychology of sexuality and relationships one time also there, which was very interesting, like very like kind of outside of the realm of like the norm at the time. So that was really fun to take, like, because I was just like, how much like I didn't really want to go into psychology, but it was just, I find for me having the psychology of sexuality and relationships was kind of like a kind of good understanding, because like we have like terrible sex ed in high school and stuff, so.
But that's wild. I didn't realize communications was like so vast, but the idea that it gave you access to a bunch of shit that turned out to be like what you need to be an influencer.
Yeah, literally. Literally.
Back then it was probably one of those, what the fuck are you going to do with these fields? And it just go, well, I mean, no, journalism and shit, eh?
Yeah.
No, it was like really legit.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah. That's why I felt like that for me was going to be and it's interesting because like at the time I picked that because I felt like that was going to be the easiest thing for me to just breeze through school without having to pay too much attention to it, because I'm naturally interested in those things. But now looking back, I always said if I wasn't like doing cakes or whatever, or not even that, if I wasn't doing cakes, it's just if I knew how much I liked digital media at the time, I would have totally refocused. Like I would have gone into like movies, like, like just kind of like on like producing like behind the scenes, that stuff. Like that's my shit. Like that's my shit. Like if I knew, but I feel like they don't set us up to know what the hell we want when we're going into CJIP. It's terrible.
Like, I think half the problem, though, is you don't know what the names are for any of the jobs. And, if I remember the Seja book correctly, and it's probably like the university one now, it's a bunch of programs that list a bunch of jobs, and you do a bunch of fucking quizzes that tell you a bunch of lists of shit with no definitions to anything. And then you're just supposed to either know some shit or figure it out. Like, I don't really think the system's all that clear to get to like specific nuanced jobs outside of like retail and manufacturing. Like pretty much everything that like honestly, I work in social media and community building. There's not even like really shout out for the follow X Raider. See, it's like addictive.
Yeah, right.
But there's not even like really a course for what I do. There are just courses within other programs that like maybe touch on some of the nuances, because we're making it up as we go along in some cases. But some of these programs turn out to be really interesting and how they're beneficial. So I'd highly recommend communications. That sounds like a fire ass experience.
It was fun. Like I said, it was just easy for me because I feel like I don't really remember. Let's say I don't remember school at all. It's just that it was just for me just something so passively, like I would go and like obviously we all skipped a little bit because like that's just your college experience,
right. I'm gonna skip all this age.
But like, you know what I mean? Like I almost failed that psychology course actually, and then I decided, you know what, it was too late to back out of it, and I just kind of went in and I wrote her a really long email, the professor, and I said, listen, I take full responsibility. I kind of want to jump in, and I promise you I'll do, because I know if I actually put like half the effort, I've never had to study a day in my life, and I was like a principal's honor roll, like, so it's just, for me, I'm like, if I put the effort, I know I'll be able to, and I ended up passing with like a 79. So I was like, it was the comeback story. She was very impressed, and I was like, I told you, like, give me a shot, and she did, and it worked out.
That's fire.
Interesting class.
Yeah, I kind of miss Seja. Seja was a vibe.
Yeah.
In case y'all aren't from Quebec, because not everyone's from Quebec, as clearly, Ned is from Philly or wherever he said. I'm like terrible with my memory today. I digress. The States. Seja is like this strange ass Quebec-based in between high school and university thing that counts as grade 12 and the first year of university everywhere else. And it's a vibe because it's fucking easy, but it feels like college, and you basically get to do all the fun.
Yeah.
And you don't really have to try in class. And then you get to university and university is like, oh, you thought? No, you're gonna work now.
Yeah. CEGEP's like the pre-university like fun, like you really get to enjoy your last of your freedom there.
And you're like 17 when you start, so
Yeah.
it's like you're thrown into this completely adult environment, and it's pretty fire actually.
Yeah.
So what did you do for universities?
So I didn't go to university.
Ooh, what happened next then?
I started working in a bakery. Actually, so my mom, the story really starts is, so my parents separated, and me and my mom didn't have the greatest relationship, and I was like a teenager, had a lot of attitude, and my parents separated, and I went to go live with my dad for a time, but then when my mom moved to near Lauren Hill, and I started going there, and then Vanier and stuff, it was more beneficial to me to kind of like do half because like my mom's house would be closer and stuff, and I had a car and stuff, so it was like I had my freedom to do whatever, like I was just driving wherever I wanted, and if I wanted to stay at my dad's house this night, I could be like, hey, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. So my mom started watching like Cake Boss and stuff, and she really wanted to get into doing pastries. And my mom my parents are chefs, right? So my dad had the catering for like forever, restaurant. My mom's worked in restaurants her whole life, had the restaurant with my dad. So she started like baking, and she said, I really want to start selling cakes from home. And so she did her friend's cake, and I really didn't want anything to do with it. And it was terrible. It looked like weak. Like, I'm like, you're not going to give this to her. So I had to help her redecorate the whole cake, and I made it look beautiful. And I went like, wow, this is actually really fun. So then we did my brother's birthday cake, and then I hand painted a Detroit Red Wings logo. And like, if anyone knows the logo, it's like the motorcycle wheel with the wing feather, and that's a lot of spokes. And like, I painted that whole shit by hand because at the time stencils weren't a thing. Like right now, there's so many people that do cakes from home, and like, I love that like people are doing that stuff,
Run it.
But it's just like they didn't have half the shit that we use as tools now to facilitate doing that. Like I learned a lot of shit that I was doing by hand, and now it's like, if you want to make this item, oh, now you could buy a mold for that. Now you could buy this tool that makes making roses easy like this. Now you just need a cutter and fold it this way. Like, so it's like anybody could do it, but like that shit didn't exist when I was doing it. Like I was.
So like, real talk though. You like figure out the actual skills like the cake bosses and the TV people had to do to be cool. So
Yeah.
you got like the foundation, let's say, and you got the practice into it. Do you find that in like the current climate of cakes, it makes a difference?
Oh, that's a very good question. I mean, like, yeah, because I think that there's just things that we had to do the harder way. So if the easy way fails, we have other ways of doing it, which is like the old school way, like.
So you're saying that like a lot of people can get fucked if they're not like able to just like the
Because
by
like
numbers version.
a lot of
doesn't work.
times I'll even tell my friends this. I say, oh, I could go buy this mold to do this, and they're like, oh, you can't do it. I'm just like, yeah, I can do it by hand, but it just takes a really long time. But now there's a way to do it if I go buy but I'm like, if I'm too lazy to go buy the mold, or I'm just gonna be like, okay, yeah, just take the time and do it by hand because you know how to do it.
How
So
do
it's
you-
like.
Okay, I watch people do the cake shit, but like it's not really that interesting to me to watch people make cakes. I know a lot of people love that. I never fully understood it. Like Bonnie be all over it. If you put cakes and competition in the same fucking word, chain watching it.
This is so funny because my friend was actually watching Sugar Rush on
I've seen all of them live.
repeat the other day. And we were literally watching these, and I'm watching this stuff, and I'm like, it gives you so much anxiety because I'm like, I don't know if I would do that. I don't know if I'd put myself through that because I'm like, they set you up to fail, and like to me, it's like it's so hard to do those things in 4 hours when it takes, like I said, 3 days to make a cake. Like you're doing that in 4 hours, 5 hours on TV. Like of course you're gonna fail.
Yeah, that shit looks wild, but it also doesn't help me understand how to make cakes that look fancy. I know it sounds weird, but you watch them do everything so bullet speed, and they're like it's not really about how to do it nice. It's more about the drama of watching the cake fall apart at the end.
Exactly. Something they set you up to fail. So I'm like, I don't know if I would do that.
I like the weed show though, the one with the weed edibles, which is just goofy. I kind of enjoy watching that one. I'd not go on it, but I'd be like a judge on that one. But like otherwise,
That'd be fun.
would you do you cook with weed? Bonnie asked that before, and I forgot to ask you.
I've done it a couple times, but it's not something I'm like well versed in. But it's only because I've not made the effort to be.
So you're like, I could cook with weed.
I
I choose
just-
not to.
Yeah.
There's enough of that on the market right now.
Well, essentially, like one of my like wild dreams when I opened the bakery was that I was gonna eventually kind of branch. My brother was working with my dad at the catering at the time because he had just graduated as a chef from Pius.
So like your whole family just cooks.
Yeah, and so my dream was to eventually maybe open a kind of like Stephanie's Bakery edibles side that I'd co-own with my brother because my brother's also like very into smoking weed. And I'm like, that'd be really cool to have him because he's a chef, kind of like be on like I could teach him how to bake, but he's like the weed guy, so he can make sure that I would trust him to like cook.
He knows how to deal with the weed cooking.
No, but I'm saying I know he would have learned, like you know what I mean, like at the time, but like. Obviously, once the weed got legal, and then they said edibles were like going to be illegal here, you could still buy it online. But like, anyways,
I mean, I'm not gonna say that like I want to promote this, but you can just do a whole edibles business pretty easy, and it's not necessarily in the selling of commodities. I think the loopholes in experienced chefing. So if you were to do like a private event and all the food has edibles and shit, I think there's a loophole in that because I see that shit
because
all
it's a private
the
event.
fucking
Yeah,
time.
I know what you mean.
So it's not
I know what
necessarily
you mean.
like you can come through and just sell weed, but
Yeah.
you can sell tickets to an event that maybe has edibles being shared and donated and given
Right.
and all the legal terms to work around it. There is a pipeline that allows for that. That's really nifty though, that you like just from time got into like designing cakes. And is it just like painting sugars and shit? Like I don't really understand the process of like actually decorating a cake
So it's
to
like-
that level of
So
customization.
fondant was the thing that became like really popular with Cake Boss, right? And like every time I would watch Cake Boss, because it was such a new concept on TV at the time, he was really explaining all the little tricks of the trade on TV. So it's like to anybody watching, they're like, "Oh, that's so cool," right? It's like seeing how things are made. But I'm watching this like, "Oh, that's how they do it. Oh, okay, I could do that." Like, "Oh, I could do that. Oh, I could do that." And that's like I kind of learned through that, and then like YouTube, and like seeing how people do these certain techniques or what products they use to, because finding the products is what's key. And I wanted to eventually expand the bakery and have like a cake retail section because I'm like, once you find good products, you want people to be able to like buy those products from you also to if they want to make cakes at home.
I don't
you
know if y'all noticed it, but literally every idea she's had has an upsell idea attached to it. Like
That's
off
just how
the
my
jump.
brain works.
That's some knowledge nugget shit. Like it's dreaming bigger. That's amazing. But so you want that would have just been some affiliate shit where you just work out the deal with the next thing, white label it as your own product, boom, 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 and now you're just
yeah.
that's wild.
Yeah. Crazy shit.
And then you get into the cake shit in more of like an independent kind of like pushing it to people you know, friends and family kind of thing.
Yeah, so
Or,
it's
how
like
do you
so my
actually
mom
start
was
it?
getting the clients and I was basically doing it with her and we were taking pictures and I was doing social media because like that's not my mom's thing.
When
So
was this, by the way?
oh, like I was 18, so what is
Damn.
that 2008? Yeah,
Damn.
2008. And then after that, I got a job at a bakery and she hired me like on the spot. And like my first day on the job, she told me to come and left me alone and told me I had to finish a cake that was in the freezer naked. And there was a picture of what it was supposed to look like. And I'm like, I don't know where anything is. I'm literally in a kitchen by myself in an Italian bakery that is pretty well known. And I'm like, okay. So I got it done. And it was a giant... It was a giant law book with a hammer and then the kind of like the clip with the name. And on the clip had like that wooden board that said like congratulations, like, you know, and then their name, maître, whatever, you know. But yeah, it was like a big like law book with the hammer and the like little name tag on it.
So you basically go from like doing it out the crib, trying to figure it out off of YouTube and Cake Boss quite
Yeah.
literally. to like the whole kitchen with the shit everywhere that you need.
Yeah. So I became basically like the right hand woman to like the lady who was running the bakery side of it, because it was a family owned bakery, Italian, classic story. You know, the one that we all know. It's a mom and pop shop, and the father and the brother are the bakers in the sense of the bread guys. They are there 4 o'clock in the morning, getting the bread ready for the day, getting out all those pastries out, getting the tomato pizzas, getting the, everything that you see that they're there at 4 in the morning. And then the mom ran the customer service with the other daughter. And my boss, who was the third daughter, she decided to do the cakes. So she had a passion to kind of like expand. She goes, we have the business already because people are here. Like, it's just adding it onto the menu, and it's a very lucrative business. So she was kind of freehanding it too with her family. So having me with her, we kind of made like a team of like learning things on the fly and learning off of each other and kind of building that to like what it is. So I learned a lot there, and to this day, like I see her, and it's like all respect. She's asked me to come work a day or two sometimes too, like to if I needed something, or like if I needed like cake pop like batter for like, because cake like when you have a large order of cake pops, it's hard to like just bake just to destroy. So I asked her if she had like cake crumbs that I could buy off of her, and she's like, yeah, if you want, come roll them.
You just started saying cake jargon, and I'm like, okay, nope, I don't know cake jargon at all.
It's just cake. Like, sometimes she'll offer to like give me cake pop batter so I can make cake pops, because I have to roll them into balls. So
it's a different batter than other cake.
Yeah, it's like basically like the crumbs that we're cutting off of like cakes that we're carving to make 3D cakes. Like, we always have cake crumbs, right? So like when you save that, and then you just mix it to make cake pops. That's how you make cake pops.
So
it's basically like
ball things.
Because you're mixing it with icing anyway. So it's like we would do a trade-off where I would go and roll cake balls for her all day, and then she'd let me take like half of them home with me. Like, so it's like, I love her. I learned a lot there. That was my first real job at a bakery, and I was there for 4 years, I think. And then
this is like fresh out of school, straight into career.
Within a year, maybe.
That's wild.
Yeah, within a year, after like no longer doing college. Yeah.
So what happens after that bakery?
Lance convinces me to start my own.
And when do you meet Lance?
I was still working there when I met Lance. It was 2012. Yeah, see, 2008 to 2012. Yeah, that makes sense. The math adds up. But yeah, so I kind of wasn't getting called to go work as much anymore, and it was getting kind of like annoying to not have a guarantee if I was getting paid or not. And Lance was just like, you already do things on the side, like we'll just push that more. And on Facebook, you already have like 200, I think at the time I had like 250 followers or whatever on my bakery page, and it was very, very low key. And then that's what it became. It became like, yeah, you're right, I don't need to depend on her for money. I'm gonna like push myself and freelance more. And then that's became like, now I don't even advertise, and I only do like 2 cakes a weekend right now, but that's just because I'm very busy and I have Brady, and you know what I mean? But if I wanted to, I could be doing more, and I'm not even like advertising. Like, I forget to post the cakes because there's so much content already on the page that, like there's always so many cakes being done every weekend that I cannot post for so long and still have so many more cakes that I could post again, like it's wild.
And so basically you've literally been just making cakes for people for like 14 years.
I know, it's crazy.
That's like a wild amount of expertise in cake making. And like, what are some of the weirdest cakes you've ever had to make for people?
Oh, the weirdest cakes? I mean, the classic, like, butt with the shit coming out of it and the toilet paper, it's like dirty 30. Yeah, like dirty 30s, like those weird, like, cakes. Like, one group of guy friends made me do, like, an ass with like chocolate icing coming out of it to look like poop, and then like toilet paper on the side that said like, oh shit, you're 30, like happy dirty 30 or something like that. Like,
I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
So I guess people.
I
come
mean,
in all
but it depends
directions.
like what's like the weirdest thing, because I'm like, would weird be like sexual? Because I've done a lot of like,
I feel like sexual cakes aren't that weird.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I've done like vagina, like labias on cupcakes. For Suicide Girl Lily, you know, for her birthday, she wanted nipples and well, she wanted boobies and labias on her cupcakes. So we did that. We've done pinup style like corsets. We've done like stripper cakes. We've done like you know what I mean, like so like that stuff. I find a lot of them are nice
Shout
though.
out Jump Boy 88. He's like, he comes in, here's about stripper cakes, follows.
You know?
Respect.
But weird, I don't know.
Yeah, I feel
What
like
else is
those
weird?
aren't like as weird because it's just like shit. Half the bachelorette parties in the world is just dick paraphernalia and shit. So it's like,
Yeah,
that's
right?
not that weird to me. But I mean, like out there, like you had to like raise an eyebrow at the request and be like, that's a fucking strange ass cake.
I don't know. I really can't think of anything. I've been doing this for too long, and
Everything blends into being like normal.
no, I mean I always remember thinking like the butt one was just always stood out to me. It's just because it looks so gross, but it's just like it's so the opposite. Like it's you're tasting. It's just like it's just so weird to eat off of that. Like that's just me. But you
And
know,
what are some of like the most common cakes people ask for?
frozen still goes hard. Yeah, frozen. Frozen is like probably the number one cake. The drip cakes, the chocolate drip, that's still very much in style. The unicorns, unicorns are always, yeah,
People like unicorns.
yeah. I do like unicorn cakes because they're cute. They're small and cute, and like it's just icing and a horn on top, and you know they could be colorful.
Paw Patrol.
My son is obsessed with Paw Patrol, but yeah, I do a lot of them, but like not as many as I thought. Like Frozen still kind of overpowers Paw Patrol.
That's because Elsa's monster.
Yeah.
She just. I think she queen of Disney. To be honest, I don't think there's anybody that's bigger in Disney than Elsa. In truth.
Yeah, no. People. I don't think a lot of people realize how powerful that movie is.
I know.
It started a trend for Disney, which is now Encanto, right? Just got the same kind of like I haven't watched it yet. Shame on me, but
I don't know what
they're
that is.
saying now like that movie, it like because the antagonist is not somebody who's gonna go and like fall in love with a man and get married. Like it's not like the typical like princess in distress story. That like it's about family strife and how to deal with that and communicate and like you know growing up in like a intergenerational home, so it's like having all that. Like Frozen was one of the first movies that Disney produced that was like really not about boy meets girl and falls in love and there's a tragedy or something, you know what I mean? Like it's more relatable. Like Frozen was the first one.
Yeah, I feel
It's
that.
powerful.
I like that Soul movie. I found that
Yeah.
was super relatable too, and that taps into the same kind of shit. Just like I bet a bunch of kids have no idea what their purpose is.
Yeah. Inside Out was another good one too.
I don't know if I saw that. I don't have a kid, so I don't necessarily stay up to date on my
Yeah.
Disney's like that much. Like it's got to be like I'll be honest. I never saw Frozen. I never had a reason to.
Yeah.
And I just assume if ever a kid comes, I will have my fair share of that movie, and it's
Oh yeah, for
unavoidable.
sure.
So I'm just
You're like, I don't
I'm
need
good.
to.
I can
It'll
hold
come
on.
when it comes.
That's it. There's no rush for it, but I like the song.
Yeah.
The song's a banger, but
Yeah. It's a thing.
So I know you do more than just cakes, and I know that in the middle of that you did mention the Stephanie's bakery part, and then that there was a tragedy with the bakery. And
Yeah.
So at what point do you actually get to going from like the hustle and pushing social media and learning all about flipping cakes on the internet to like an actual retail thing?
It was getting really busy. I was doing like, oh my gosh, I remember seeing throwbacks on Facebook. My order wall was like a sheet of paper with like numbered orders, and it was like 12 to 17, give or take, every weekend. And I was like, it's too small. I'm like, I need to get a space. And then once we had decided that that's what we were gonna do, it was like, okay, let's see if we can make this work. And then kind of things fell into place that it was just happening. And then we had a shop, and we did great for two and a half months.
Where was it located?
It was on Queen Mary, right in front of Snowden Metro. There's the Metro grocery store. It was right across the street. There used to be a Videotron there.
And you know what? It's like where the weed store is.
A little bit further up. It's a restaurant now. It's the Petit Senegal now.
I mean, you're still arguably fucking close to the weed store in that location.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's like 5 businesses down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so that's where it was. That's fire stills. And then what happened with that?
Brief story. Landlord was shit. You could Google him. He was somebody that was just not well known for being a good landlord. And we went to court, settled, and then just moved on. And I was just kind of like, ugh, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. But it runs itself. So I couldn't disrespect people. I'm like, I'm not gonna turn away here out of spite because it didn't go my way and it didn't go like it was kind of just like wrong, like bad timing, I guess. I don't know, because all the businesses that are there now are doing great, just because he's not in the picture anymore. But that was partly because of us. So if it helped everybody else, and I guess it didn't go in vain. But we fought him a lot, and
That's
he
wild.
usually wins, and
So-
he
so
didn't
what
with
hap-
us. So
What makes a bad landlord is something that people, because I don't know anything about corporate real estate. I don't know. I want to get a studio one day. And like honestly, it's a thing we're considering this year, like taking on that corporate rent, so to speak. So like, what are some of the things to watch out for?
So basically, a commercial lease is not regulated. So only you have an apartment. There's a lease that's from Revenue Quebec that they give you a lease, and that's from the government. For commercial, that doesn't exist. So the lease is whatever you make it. You make out a contract, and if there's things missing out of it that's not clear, and you want to argue that in court, and it's not well written, then guess what? It's he say, she say. So it's like there's things, and I did a very good job at like backing myself up with. We had like contracts written, things were detailed, and he just there was always delays. Opening already took longer than it was supposed to. There was delays for this. I'm like, nobody's working. I'm like, I would go there every day and see like nothing get done. I'm like, who's working here all day? Like there's never anybody here when I walk in. So it started off rough a little bit, but we made it through. But then he like the heating, like the AC vent thing broke, and it was really hot in the bakery all day, and it was like in May already of 2018, we were getting like some really hot days super early that year.
Oh my
And
gosh, yeah.
and it was like hot outside, hot inside. The ovens are running all day. I have fridges. The freezers are pulling double time because of the heat, and there's no air exchange. And he didn't want to fix it. And we got into a dispute, and he cut my power, and I lost all my stuff right before Saint Jean weekend, and all the orders that I had like a really busy weekend that weekend, and I had to give everybody back their money, throw everything in the garbage. And the power was off for 3 months, and I was locked out. I couldn't go in. He locked like the access to
And like
everything.
legally, he can just like do that, and your only real recourse is to go to court and fight it out like that. With
Yeah,
ads,
basically.
fees.
Basically.
That's dark, and that's probably something that happens a whole bunch in this province.
Which is why we did the GoFundMe. We got money to pay some lawyers, which helped us a lot, actually. And it was the reason why we were able to get as far as we did with him. And then, it is what it is. We just continued back from home. I just downsized a lot, and I just said, you know what? I said I trust myself to know what the essentials are to continue running my business, knowing that I'm confident enough in like my ability to do this because I've been doing it for so long. At this point, it's like second nature. So that's what we've been doing. So now it's back at home, like I was doing it before. So no difference really.
It's fair. So basically, for this whole time, and now all that's different is you're not doing 17 cakes in a weekend from home.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's better pacing.
Yeah, I'm selective now.
So aside of cakes and that whole side of your business, I know that you have other operations that you hustle at. So what are some of the other things that you get up to?
I still have like my kind of like artistic side that I got into doing that iPad art in the past year. Got an Apple Pen. So it's just kind of messing around with that a bit, and then kind of turned that into a business of like designing logos, business cards, merch, just because we were doing the merch for No Regard at the time also. So to just integrate something that just touches all of the avenues that we were already working in was just very easy to do all that. So because we had the merch going, so we had the cakes going. So like after doing all that together, so.
So you're still actively pursuing any of that design stuff?
Yeah, I mean it's really fun to do, and I like I said I like to learn new things a lot. So to me, I'm very much like a supportive friend, and I like to be involved in like helping friends build their businesses. And I've noticed a lot of people had a hard time like even knowing how to register their business. And the thing what happened with COVID was that there was so many people that pivoted and started their own businesses. Like there was, like I'm sure there's a stat that the number of businesses that were registered in the register of enterprises jumped during COVID because a lot of people decided to kind of like work for themselves because they lost their jobs or they didn't, they had to kind of pivot. And I was getting paid to help people register their businesses and do their like registration in the register because it's so complicated. Like they make it really complicated, and I've just done it so many times at this point because I've helped my friends do it that people were like, hey, I'm going to give your name to this person. Can you help them? And it's like, yeah, no problem. And I take care of all their business, like mail and all their business, like important letters and stuff like that. And it's been really fun,
So hold up. You just sit there and you help people paperwork their businesses as a hustle.
Yeah.
And that's like lucrative.
Yes.
Say a word.
Yeah.
Wow, that's like, I mean, and all you have to do is learn the logistics of what nobody wants to learn.
Yeah, because it's all in French and there's no English translation because it's a government website.
Oh, so you can tap into the English market. Now, for people that aren't from Quebec, what you may not know is that our government is very French. And when I say very French, I mean there is no English on the website or on the phone numbers, and they're not legally required to speak English to you on some, well, I like to call it bigotry. It's weird. It is what it is. But that means that let's say you speak English in Quebec and you are trying to deal with the logistical nightmare that is paperwork in this province. It's like it's hard because you don't know the legalese, right? Like, you think like even the forms in English be wildly confusing.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I try to do like the tax shit and I stare at this shit and I'm like trying to follow the numbered orders of jumping around and shit. I mean, if it's in French, it's like 3 times as hard because it's not really a natural language. And usually that shit's stressing.
Yeah.
I don't know how much you cost, but I could see how that's a fucking lucrative thing to get yourself into.
Yeah.
Because, like, damn, you must save a lot of people a lot of time.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's been really fun. And, like, I like to be adaptable because, like, I don't have a set list of what I do because I'm like, it's like, what do you need? And I'll let you know what I can help you with,
And it's just all logistics and navigating the government websites and having the process of knowing the various legal law shit that has come up. And you don't even need certifications or anything. You just know shit and people trust that you know shit and you get paid to know shit.
People like to pay for convenience.
Arguably, when I said earlier that was that like girl boss hustle shit, like is that not what they do though? Is that not honestly what they is that what they like represent? Like, yo, I know shit, and if you pay me you'll know shit too. And you're like, nah, if you pay me you'll get shit done faster.
Yeah. Fast. Very fast.
But that's like fire. Like
Yeah,
that's the whole
yeah,
thing.
for
So
sure. For sure.
I didn't even know like it was like I didn't know that. I just like as I process it I find it like inspiring because like one of the things about these times is like the job market's really fucking weird. Like, I mean, like, I don't want to talk shit about my company because I'm a blessed motherfucker. But if I was not in my company, it's a weird time with a lot of not stability and average salary increases that are pretty trash. So what I think is super interesting is how you're able to just like take regular ass life skills and flip that shit into actually lucrative avenues and whatnot. And like I don't know, I guess you read a lot of books and shit, but like was it just always like that, or was there like some kind of influences along the way that kind of push you in that direction?
I don't know. I just feel like my brain is just very analytical. And like, see, we're not even going to talk about like, so all these things. We're not even talking about the fact that I actually work an office admin job 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. Like I actually have a day job, and my job is like literally running the director's schedule and his life and being in his emails and scheduling his calendars and making sure we're working on stuff. But I'm like, so it's like there's all like I've just been someone that likes to like I'm very task oriented. So if there's a task list, it's very easy for me to do work. Like, you know what I mean? Like I have to know what I'm doing, and I like to kind of plan stuff and be organized in a certain way. And so it's like I just keep things that are in the kind of mess of like the whirlwind of what my life is, and if everything kind of flows together, then it makes it easier, where people are like, how you do all of that? But I'm just like, they're all kind of intertwined in a way, so my brain just like likes to do all these things.
No, and it's also like you said, I think earlier, I don't know if it was on or off cam, but like monopolizing your time to like ensure that it stacks into making growth.
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
more
exactly.
out of the situation.
Exactly.
Like,
Exactly.
so now that like the COVID came and like disrupted everything, how did that like change shit up for you?
Well, working from home, a lot of it was just easier for me to obviously take cake orders from home, but even that downsized because everyone was just doing, oh, I want a cake for 4 people, I want a cake for 5 people, I want a cake for 6 people. You know
How
what I mean?
big were the cakes before?
Like people would have parties for like, 12 to 15 people, 20 people, 25 people. But it's just like because of COVID, nobody was having gatherings. So people were still ordering cakes for their kids who are having birthdays at home, but it would be a small cake for 4 people, 5 people, So it's like that was the trend at the time because of COVID. But it's like it never stopped. People were still celebrating birthdays, and the easiest way for them to do that in a small gesture is order a cake. And, like I've just been doing that through COVID, working from home. We went back to the office for a brief stint throughout the year, and then now we're back home again. And I'm moving soon, so it's like okay, like we're gonna start the year in the springtime and see what's going on now.
And do you have any like bigger ambitions or goals for where you want to take things now that you've gotten this kind of like status quo in order?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I have to kind of figure out like what the focus is going to be like after the move is dealt with. So I could be like, okay, like, do I want to keep doing the same? Like, we've been working, we understand this is the new pattern, but like, yeah, I have to figure out what my direction's going to be and see what we do next, because I want to spice it up a little bit.
So like if you could like on a more wish list sense of it, like picture yourself like down the line, do you have any like big dream goals of where you see yourself going?
Yeah, I just like I'm all about like the generational wealth, and unfortunately the best way to get there is real estate, and that market is a little bit crazy right now, but I happen to be in that market because I work for a real estate agency. So just kind of like keeping that, knowing that real estate is something that anybody aspires to, and it's like right now is really hard to get as a millennial, and that's a whole nother problem, our millennial crisis and all this housing and all that stuff. Like we really got screwed, I think. That's just my opinion, but like I said, that's a whole nother topic. But
so you like work in real estate in the sense that the one thing I know about that is you run a lot of stats and you get access to like real deal real estate stats.
Yeah.
Not like the we talk about it.
Yeah, no, I do the weekly meetings with my boss is the director, and I'm the one that makes his PowerPoint that he presents to the whole office.
So I guess you have access to unabridged raw data about real trends that most of us just hear about.
Yeah.
And I say that because we probably could Google it, but I'm pretty sure none of us is fucking out there Googling real estate trends on a regular. Like, I'm just going to throw that out there.
Yeah, right.
But, like, with that, what do you see with the millennial situation?
I just think that we got kind of stuck in a really hard position with how our parents had no wealth to pass on to us, whereas, like, the jump from like where we are now compared to being able to afford things, how they were able to afford things, it's like, how do you expect us to do it when you had it so easy and you didn't even do it, and now you were expecting to have like the double? Like,
you're saying Gen X didn't buy houses, or the people above us didn't buy houses?
Yeah, a lot of times like the wealth for the real estate industry of like our parents, or like my dad. Like, my grandfather bought the triplex that we all lived in, but that meant his kids never had to buy a house because they all lived in the triplexes, right? So it's like my dad never felt the need to like own property or do. He just like was like, okay, like I have my wife, my kid. Like I had a baby when I was 19 years old. Like I'm gonna work and we're gonna live here, this and that, and that was our life. Like
I never even thought about that one time. So you're saying there's an actual trend then, where the boomer people copped houses, and then the next people's down just didn't buy houses because of the houses the boomers bought, and this impacted the overall home ownership trend so that the wealth equity didn't shift proper to millennials. And this is just nothing to do with laziness. This is because of other people not buying houses because other people bought houses.
yeah, real estate was not valued at that time. It wasn't like my dad always says to this day that one of the things he regrets the most is that my grandfather had a duplex, I think, that he wanted to get rid of because the market was shit and nobody wanted this apartment. And my dad said, I don't want that. And he said, please just take it off my hands. I'll sell it to you for nothing. And my dad said, I don't want it. And he's like, I should have bought it off my dad because look now, like it doesn't matter as long as you own property, like, and I think that it's just something like we should own something here. And it's just the only thing that really gives you solidity, like that you have that wealth. You belong to this planet, own something.
What do you think about condos? Because, like, I'm not really team condo, but I'm also an outsider who just comments on shit sometimes, and I know it on the subject of home ownership. But do you think condos are, like, actually worth it? Because that seems to be what be going on with my age group. Everybody cop a condo.
Yeah, so my insider opinion on condos is that they're good, for my opinion. They're good for me to buy and then rent it out to the people that like to live in condos because I don't have a condo that I would live in. I think I would it'd be like my passage into being like kind of like a property manager because I'd be like condos kind of like, hey, easy way to get wealth, and then you can upgrade from a condo to like a house after that and then rent out the condo, and then that would be my route. But I wouldn't live in one though.
Why?
Because I want land. I want land. I want to have
why
like
would
space.
you, like, rent an apartment versus copping a condo as an example?
My situation's a little bit different because my uncle owns the building, so I pay really cheap rent. But if I were to buy a condo just because of a lower price tag, easier to get on your own type thing, I would use that. There's a way to use kind of like your new wealth of the condo to buy another property that's a little bit more expensive afterwards, and then you can just rent out the condo and like have them both that you own now.
So you would just never have that first condo in mind to live in, and that's like a pitfall that people do in theory.
Yeah, I mean, like if you want, like it's good to own, and then like I just wouldn't. I just wouldn't sell it unless I'm getting a really good price because like you could just make some money renting it, and the rental housing right now is not great. So if you can add a rental to the situation, people are jumping at that, and then you make your money there. And then if you want to sell later on, that's your prerogative to do so. But it's like having kind of like a free revenue stream in your hand.
So it's almost like more of an incentive to cop a condo to add to, like, would that be like an active solution if people were to treat condos more like that? I don't know if they do.
I wonder. That's a good question.
Because, like, again, like, I feel like that renting situation's kind of weird, but like that would be like a situation where millennials, in a very selfish way, this is very good for millennials to be motivated, would contribute to both their own personal wealth and solve renting crises in the city. I don't know if it would work. It could be more complicated, but that's a super interesting idea.
Yeah.
So then it's like you don't really care how much the condo costs anymore in terms of your ability to live in it. You can deal with whatever situation you have, and you just make bank on the situation, and you turn that into a hustle to level up.
Yeah.
Shit. But then you have to be a landlord, right? Because you got to deal with the landlord shit.
Oh, yeah. I'd love to be a property manager.
You got excited at the idea of organizing that. That shit was that's not my forte. Chris Chrome's like, oh, millennial chat. Shut up, Chris Chrome. He's gonna edit
Chris?
this. That's right. He gets to go through it. And he's gonna timestamp it, and he's gonna make sure that people can skip around easily if they so choose and add chapters. But yeah, Chris is.
I love Chris Chrome.
He's a wonderful person. He's got a vibe to him.
Yeah. Ran into him at the Provigo.
You go to Provigo?
Yeah, sometimes.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I always find it like, well, I don't have a car, so it's far away lads for me. I just go to Metro.
No, I work right near there, so sometimes I go.
No, that's so basically, you would do the rental property thing, but other than that, what else do you like see in this housing market situation? I don't know if it's a good time to buy or sell with the prices being as high as they is, and I see a lot of confusion and mixed up ideas on that. So when the prices be in this current escalation of increasing, is this really the time to buy, or do you expect shit to like drop, or is it gonna go up for like a long time type thing?
So it's predicted that it's still gonna keep kind of getting higher, but it's not gonna go as high as it's like been. It's like stabilizing a little bit, but it's still going up. But the main issue with the housing right now is that there's no inventory.
Can you clarify what that means?
It means there's like not a lot of available houses to buy. There's no listings. Like if you get a listing, it's like a rare gem right now because it means it's guaranteed money because your house is gonna sell. If you're the listing agent on it, and you get someone that says, "Hey, I want you to sell my house," that's like right now the rarity. Because there's such little inventory on the market. So if you go right now to go buy, I say, you know what? I want to go see what the market looks like and I want to buy a house. And you go look on Centrist or whatever you go look on, there's not a lot of houses. And you're going to scroll through the same thing over and over again because like we get like 30 to 50 new listings every week. And that's like not a lot. There's not a lot of inventory.
So you're saying this
it's
is
a bidding
for
war.
Montreal or for like Quebec?
Montreal, yeah.
So you're saying in the whole island of Montreal, only like 30 to 50 people a week be selling houses?
Yeah. Oh, like even like on the outskirts too. Like we're talking about like like Laval and.
So that's like a 4 million person area.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you know why people are not selling their houses?
Just because there's no houses to sell. We're a lot of people that need houses to live in, and there's nowhere to build more houses, and they're not doing it fast enough. And we had it's funny, we just had our kickoff last week, 2 weeks ago, and we had so CREA is the Canadian Real Estate Association, and we had their stats guy come on, who's like he checks the trends, and he's their economist, their chief economist, and he literally said to us, we predicted this was going to happen he's like 15 years ago. He's like, we've been saying this for 15 years that the inventory was just never going to catch up because of the boomers and then the millennials and then now the Gen Zers, or the Gen Y, whatever it is. So it's like...
Can I just ask a question to make sure I'm following this inventory problem?
Yeah.
All right. So what you're saying is if I have a house and I want to go sell my house right now, I don't see a house to buy, so I don't put my own house up for sale. And this circular problem has it that virtually nobody's selling houses.
Exactly. And like there's a clause that you're able to like only go through with the sale as long as you have a house that you're going to move into. But it's harder to find a house to buy than to sell a house right now. It's really hard to find.
So it's really like unless you're downgrading, which is probably not the flex most people are doing, you're really not going to pursue this option.
Yeah.
Damn. And there's no solutions for Montreal.
No, not right now. Oh, sorry. I'm just reading Chris's chat.
Yeah, he's.
Yeah, that's the situation right now. So, we gotta build more houses. We gotta build more homes.
And nobody's gonna do that. Is that like a Montreal thing or a Quebec thing, a Canada thing?
I think it's everybody, because I know we're doing the socioeconomic housing, which is very important. Also, but after the government decides we have to get, there's a land issues. There's it's hard to get builders. Wood is did you hear the wood is 4 times the price than it usually is or something like that too?
So it's back to half of what it get cut in half recently.
Okay, yeah, but I know the contractors there's a year wait for anybody to do renovations on their home, and everybody wanted to renovate their home because they were living in it more because of COVID, and it was just everything just impacts each other. It's crazy, and then COVID delays everywhere. So and the truckers, and you know what I mean. So it's just it's so crazy how all of this it impacts everything.
No, it's wild. Now all the truckers
A
are
lot
at
of
the
moving,
Capitol right now.
yeah, a lot of moving parts. That's like one of my catchphrases. A lot of moving parts, always.
You never really think about all of that, right? Like, I mean, you do, but you don't really think about all of
Yeah.
that. Like, it makes sense as you're saying it, but that's a bad situation. Everyone's just kind of stuck. Like, I had this impending sense of, yo, I can't move at
Yeah.
a certain point. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I could move, but, yo, my rent's too good to move, to be honest with you. It's not really about choice. It's like, I will not get anything close to what I pay in rent here. And because
Yeah.
of those regulations that do exist on rentals, they can't. Oh, that's apparently something y'all should watch when they try to raise your rents. Go pay attention to the amount that they are trying to raise your rent. There is like
Not more than
limits.
2% per year.
And it's and they have to justify it too
Yeah.
or some shit. Like, so
Yeah.
they gotta have actually done some shit to have improved your life, etc. But so like, yeah, it's like that like situation, and then it's like shit, and then you can't, like, I mean, I suppose you could leave Montreal, but like, where are you going? Yo, it doesn't look like Toronto, Vancouver, or anywhere
Any
else is
better,
doing
yeah.
better. It looks like it's
Yeah.
the same thing. It's like that's our future.
Yeah.
Is the feeling of most other major Canadian cities, and I suppose you could go buy a house in the middle of nowhere, but that's.
Well, one of the stats we pulled in last week's meeting was that Montreal actually lost 2.5 of its population last year.
2.5%? That's a fuck ton of people. That's like over
Yeah.
100,000 people.
Yeah.
Or is it? Or is it 50 or
It's
something?
like 2.5% of like whatever the population of
1.8
Montreal is. I don't know what
million.
that is.
Yeah, it's like 50,000 people or some shit like
Yeah.
that left.
So it's like a lot of them were to the outskirts, so like suburbs, and also a lot of them were to outside of the province.
Shit, that's wild.
Yeah, 2.5%. It's a big number.
You think
In
that's like, gonna
2021.
keep going?
Oh, for sure.
So Montreal's just gonna have a migration.
We'll see. We'll see what it caps at this year.
The question is, will that make more houses?
You know, maybe.
I mean, that would
Maybe.
be like the only benefit. I don't know. I don't know anything about
Yeah,
that. Is this a
maybe.
good thing? I don't know anything about. You just brought up a bunch of house trend shit, which I don't know if I was.
I look at
expecting
this all
that,
day.
but like, it's super interesting to see it from a perspective of somebody that's like saying real shit, as opposed to, again, that speculative, I feel this crap
Yeah.
that most of us have on a conversation like
Yeah.
that. Like, I guess, I don't know. It's like, just if you want to buy a house, watch that market and pray.
Yeah.
Is there like any?
It's bidding wars. You're bidding 100K over the what's like you're seeing something for sale for 549. You know it's selling for like 7.
I'm like that YouTuber lady. Bonnie got real mad because the YouTuber lady copped a house that was like super fucking like over market price, and that apparently affects everything in the neighborhood, raising the prices and shit. If somebody does do that, which circularly creates more of the problem.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
will that deflate? Like, let's say somebody does something crazy like that, drops like 500K over on a price, and
Well, they make you justify the price when you announce something as sold on the back end of like Centris. So like when you're a broker and you've sold now your house, right, or your client's house, you have to go, or the admin will have to go into Centris to now take the listing off the market and mark it as sold. You have to put the selling price, and then it will ask you for a justification of why the selling price is what it is. So it's like they always can come back and question, and if there's anything funny, it's their own governing body. It's
so
like they have their own.
So you can't just be like, I want to, because it affects everybody in the neighborhood if you sell a hot, right?
Yeah.
So,
So
because
they
of
do
that,
kind of moderate it a bit, you know?
So like it's like illegal in a sense to go and try to like put you couldn't just put like an extra milli on some shit. 'Cause you
No,
want
there
that
has to
house.
still be a market value. And it's like if it's an overbidding situation, I think they only allow it to a certain degree.
And will that change like the value of the house if it's overbidding because of that, or does like the
Oh,
value
definitely.
get
There's
set?
such a trickle down effect. It's crazy. It just goes everywhere.
So that affects like the rents and all of that as well. Like,
Yeah.
Will it affect rent in a neighborhood as property values go up in a sense?
Yeah, because I feel like already the rent for where I live, the price I would go for now, it blows my mind. So I'm like, that's so not what it's worth. But it's because right now everything is expensive and everything's up, and you know taxes are up and insurance is up. So it's like that's how people are compensating right now. It's like you need a place to live. Well, this is the price. It's kind of like everybody's pushing to their last dollar too. You know.
And I guess you're saying from the landlord's perspective then, Because, yo, every time I talk to a landlord, they're like, yo, tenants be tenants and shit, but, yo, we going broke too.
Yeah.
And so I don't know.
Exactly my point. Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, like I was thinking about it. Like, yo, sometimes they be doing repairs in this building at a disproportionate rate than they can legally charge us to compensate. And I don't want to talk shit about my landlord, but yo, what's up, Victor? But like sometimes you can tell that the repair job is not going in the favor of the landlord.
Yeah.
And it's like, yo, or you can hear the repair guys like talking about the shit outside, like, oh, there's gonna be a bigger job than we thought.
You know, always some shit.
And so it is pretty interesting to like hear about it, and it creates like this situation where it's like, what do you do? Who's to blame? Everybody's getting fucked.
Yeah,
and
we're all really just navigating, and that's, you know, I've learned a lot of compassion in the last year, because it's like, you know what, we're all just living the best we can in our day-to-day circumstances, and everything is trickled down to every aspect of our life, and everything impacts each other, and we're all just in a shit right now, and we all just gotta just remember to be kind and compassionate, because you never know what people are going through, ever.
Yeah, I definitely
perception is really at an all-time high right now, and it's not always what it looks like. So, you know, you gotta be nice.
I agree.
Mental health is important right now.
Mental health is, I mean, I think it's becoming a focus in a
way. And I think Bella Let's Talk Day is on Wednesday, actually.
Yeah, you're going to get the eternal debate of fuck Bell, go Bell.
Yeah, right?
That's going to be the whole day. But yeah, no, it is. Is it Wednesday?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's Wednesday.
All I know is, like, the first year of COVID was one thing. This lockdown curfew shit hit me in this way where you're the first person, I think, or second person that I've seen in real life in like a month. It's like, honestly, like I'm in a room with another person, and that's a little like, damn.
Yeah.
This is absolutely like.
This should be so normal.
But it's not, like, in a sense, it's like, oh shit, you're like here. Like, and it's like, shit, like this, but you crave it, and then it gets like, it's weird. It's like fucking I don't know how I'm supposed to go back to work. I know they're gonna force me back 2 days a week, and I'm like kind of excited, but it's like,
I wish I would go back 2 days a week.
Yeah, I don't know if we're gonna go back more. I was a little bit like, I don't think I can commit to going back 5 days a week. Everyone, life has in fact changed. But then I thought about the 2 days a week part, and I'm like, yo, sometimes it's just good to talk to people that are not connected to your hustles.
Yeah.
Because your hustle people be hustle people problems too.
Yeah.
And it's always like, you know, you get in your little circles. I go to work and it's like, I heard NFT talk I'd never heard before type shit. And I'm like, because we went in for like 1 day and like 8 of it. The downside to going back to work is you are not, oh, that's cool. Nobody asked that shit. I work for a software company, and it's a conglomerate of sorts. Let's say it's a very small end of the conglomerate nature, but it's like a bunch of brands under a parent company in France. It's corporate life. I do music and the sides shit, but corporate life is like, I'm responsible for growing organic social community efforts and running Facebook groups and moderating reputation and things like that. But effectively, it's in a software company. That's pretty international and shit. So it has a lot of mix of people, from artists and designers to like geeks of coders to like a lot of different minds. And I didn't know how much I really missed that. Yeah. There's a lot of bullshit I don't like with the office, but on a like mental health environment,
you know,
I feel like I had a better perspective of how many hours full-time regular ass corporate life, 9 to 5 shit. And then all the extra shit is just all the extra shit outside of 9 to 5 shit.
Exactly. Exactly that.
Ultimately, how many hours do I work? Bro, it's like, when am I not? I'm lying. I'd say 80-ish is a fair estimate to what I do
minimum.
A week between. You're a mom too, so you're probably like, I'm lazy by comparison. I get to sleep. Like, it's just what it is.
I literally sleep from like 2 to 6:30 a.m.
Here's the thing, Victor. A lot of old people really like
the
9 to 5 thing. A lot. everybody like knows a lot of things, but there's a lot to the traditional elements of work that were beneficial. That like, I don't know. I don't know if they're ever gonna pull that off where a lot of places are, but I do see like a transition happening to a more liquid hybrid model of work from home versus like, going back to work, because there are people that really hate work from home, or like, I got this whole room, bro, like I'm set up, yo. But if you're not set up, it's probably miserable and shit.
Yeah.
And yeah, crazy time savings to be home and shit. But like the social element of it, I don't know. I don't get to just talk to a lot of like non-artists.
Yeah.
And the thing about talking to artists all the time is it creates this weird fishbowl of really intense people who focus on shit all the time.
Yeah, and you're just like the world is a little bigger than this, like.
And you're like, yo, I kind of miss when people would sit there and talk about lawns. And I'm like, yo, you're all talking about lawns and shit.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
So it's like, or like the way other people, like, it's lawns, like LAWNS, like grass with like the
your
fucking
front lawn.
like
Yeah,
lawns.
like your front
People
lawn.
talk about lawns at the lunch table, and every homeowner I've ever met has lawn conversations
Who talks
with
about
every
lawns?
other homeowner I've ever met, because, yo, where are you at, Victor? But we have lawns all over NDG. There's
Yeah,
lawns
I love
all over.
I love like the style of the houses all in NDG by where I work with like
Say
the
a
front
word. You're in
porches
the
in the
UK.
front.
He's in the UK. I'm not
Wow,
gonna lie.
Victor from the UK.
Isn't that always a trip, like across the seas and shit? Mm-hmm. But like, there's no lawns in the UK, or I guess where you're at in the UK. That's wild. But yeah, motherfuckers be talking about that kind of shit, and that's just kind of like how it just ends up being this. But the thing is like, I know it's gonna sound wild, but those are the clients to the art empire.
Yeah.
Like those are the people who consume the art and shit. And I feel like it's hard in a little bit to get a sense of how to be good at marketing as well if you never talk to like, I don't know how else to put it, but like the regular average people that aren't trying to be artist hustlers.
Yeah.
I miss that shit a little bit. I'm not gonna lie.
No, for sure. I mean, I swear COVID's really, it's so hard. Like we will have history books written about how this impacted like our generation for literally the rest of time.
So it is, yeah, eh?
Yeah.
This is like the first thing in our lifetime,
Yeah,
I think, that's like
yeah,
this, like
yeah.
global.
Like, we're seeing, because we're all learning about this every day, like, so we don't even know what we know is if it's real or not, but like we know things, and we're learning, and we're all kind of like doing the best that we can with what we have. And COVID delays are everywhere, and it impacts the whole world right now, and we all just gotta stick together and
Expect food prices to go up even more.
yeah.
Just
And gas,
expect that.
oh my god, gas already killed me this week.
Do you guys go
At
up? Is that what
157.
happened?
No, it's at 157 right now, but they're saying it's going to hit 180 by Saint Jean.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's like a double up on what
Oh
it
yeah.
was.
Oh yeah. It's like the double. It's like the stabbing and the twist. Right in the heart.
Food's going crazy.
Yeah.
Everything going crazy. And the truckers in Canada are now protesting at the Capitol, which even if
Trudeau.
even if like it's a 2-day thing, that is 2 full days of the Canadian trucking industry not doing trucking shit. I don't know, man. Shit's getting wild.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Stephanie, you got like a crazy spirit to it. What are some of the favorite books you would recommend to the world? Because I mean, you read a lot of stuff, you said, and you have an incredibly bright mind. So given like the situation that you are in right now, and you see all the stuff in the world, what are some of the books that you would recommend to people?
I think just like my all-time favorite, just from being in school, was To Kill a Mockingbird. I mean, not to be like all American there, but it's always just been a classic for me. And I just think that having that in school and being such a like people in school were not really like so much focused on like English studies where when I was in JFK and stuff, so I was kind of like the nerd, but I'm just like I learned a lot through reading and putting myself in like stories and putting myself as like being empathetic towards situations, and I feel like I'm also a chameleon in that way where I can kind of adjust like how I relate with people, and just learning all that in school and stuff. So like that was one of my favorites growing up, like definitely.
Do you have any adult favorites?
I honestly trying to think. I haven't read a book in so
Do you
long.
audiobook or podcast?
No, I literally do know. Like I have like not like done any self improvement stuff like all in the last like 7 years, in the sense of like I've just been working so hard and like having other interests and having the bakery and just being like such a hustler in that way that that's
I would
why now I
argue
really want to
all
like.
of that hustle stuff is definitely self-improvement shit. It's
Oh
just
no, for sure, for
it's kind
sure.
of like the more advanced version, arguably.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. But I feel like now is just I'm at the time where I'm able to just understand that like I have to take moments to, have like your self-care days and your mental health days, and just like learn to kind of just take a bath. I'm used to like getting used to like just learning to enjoy taking a bath and like shutting off my brain. It's really hard, and it's funny because I judge Brady so hard because it takes him so long to get into bedtime mode because he has a hard time turning off his brain.
Brady
And
is
then I'm
your
just
son.
like, yeah,
Just for people
sorry,
out there.
Brady's my son. He's 2.5.
Adorable.
And I get so frustrated, like, oh, just close your eyes and go to bed, and because he has so much energy, and he's a boy, a big kid. But then I'm like, I can't really blame him because I'm like, I'm kind of the same way. It's hard for me to just shut down and like learn how to relax a little bit.
Yeah, I'm with you. I find shooting shit in Fallout makes my life a little simpler. I don't know. That game is just ridiculously fun because you explore the nuclear wasteland, and then when you Google the shit, it's
Yeah.
actually in Boston.
Yeah.
And you're like, what the fuck? This is well thought. I don't know. That shit gets me. But yeah, no. I push it too hard with the mental health shit on my real tip. Like, the other week, I don't know. I was like, oh my God, none of my lyrics are up. And I just spent the whole week. I would finish the interview. The next 90 minutes, I was working on like lyrics. And I did that. I'm miserable when I do that shit. I mean, I usually feel better that whatever work is done, and I never really regret it. But it takes its like toll. And it's like, I don't know. I'm 34 now. I don't know how much more I can be like pushing myself to be like super stressed all the time. Apparently that will literally kill me.
Yeah.
And that's not like a
Yeah.
hyperbolic statement.
And they've been saying stress kills for years. I remember growing up with seeing like the stress commercials about like strokes and stuff, and
To
like,
be fair with you, Victor, I will never retire personally. I will work until the day I die. I will just find another
just
project.
find another thing, yeah.
Another
Find something
thing.
that you just like more that makes you money.
I already have goals for my 50s. I'm not even lying to you. I know what I want to do with my 50s, and it's going to be a lot of smoking pot and writing books and shit.
That sounds fun.
That's
By the
like-
countryside with a lawn.
I totally do believe in God. I don't mind. Yo, questions? Y'all can ask questions
Yeah,
too,
y'all
eh?
can
It's
ask
not just
questions.
like this deep in. Feel free to hijack the conversation. Don't even get me wrong. This is like just inspiration. But
I don't
like,
even know what time it is.
it's 8:40. It's actually, we started straight up at like 7, so it's approximately late 8:30 something. 8:40.
Nice.
Whatever.
Yeah, so my phone's broken right now, so I have like I'm so like out of the loop of like the real world.
I could have just pulled it out
Yeah.
at 8:38. But I was like, nah, the time's there. But yeah, I believe in God. I wouldn't say I'm religious because religion's weird, but I believe in God.
Same.
And like,
Yeah, I believe in God. I'm not super religious in the sense of like following like the Bible as like the all-knowing book of like how to live my life spiritually. Like, no, that's just not my thing, but I do believe in God.
I just have issue with the people that run the institutions acting like their version and interpretations might be superior to anyone else's. And I find it, in my experience, the collective religious elements kind of don't encourage free thought. And I never sat well with that shit. And yeah, I at one point literally had somebody from a church one time be like, you smoke weed, bro, and you talking about sex and shit, you are literally making us look bad. Can you stop calling yourself a Christian, please?
Wow.
And I have not actually used the term Christian to describe myself since that day.
You're
And I'm like, shit,
oh.
I'm Jewish, bro. I'm God's chosen people. I don't need to be Christian like that. Jesus and I be cool, whatever. We don't need that label.
That's hilarious.
I don't know, bro. That's what the dude said to me. But when you're like 22 or something and a man's that you look up to in a church setting tells you some shit like that, I'm not going to lie to you, it fucks you up for a second. I'm like, it could. Now I'm like, it's fine, but I don't give a shit. But I realized that there are connotations that come with the labels that we attach to ourselves.
Yeah.
And I would rather go by some spiritual, I'm down with God shit than have somebody else try to define that for me.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's just how I roll with it.
Yeah. Man, there's so many levels to that stuff.
It gets like that. I haven't read religious books in years. I don't know. It's a strange direction. Not a strange direction. I just wasn't.
Yeah, see, like I'm more. As I say, I'm more spiritual. I guess. Like I believe in a higher power, and I believe in divine. Certain things and divine intervention. But like we're gonna cap it at like I'm not gonna believe some made up like stories from a book that they said was the truth from. Like it goes a lot of ways here, but yeah. Spirituality comes in many forms.
Yeah, it is what it is. But yo, Stephanie, I appreciate you coming in. Honestly, I don't mean to cut you off, Victor. I don't know where else to take the God conversation at this point. And I don't even know where else to really go with this. I feel like it's like a good time to like kind of end it a little bit. Not to like be rude. It's just that's how it goes. Like when you want to stretch it.
Yeah,
I've
for
been
sure.
told as criticisms, make sure when you like don't push the shit for the sake of it, like that's been said to me in the past. But I just really think people should check out your food, the Stephanie's Bakery 514.
Yes.
And like, I think it's really cool to see just the way your perspective on things. The whole real estate thing was super, super duper interesting.
Yeah, that's my daily life.
And just the fact that your whole desires in life is to kind of just, she's a bakery. She does cakes and shit. If you go
Victor
to
was a little late to
Instagram,
the
Victor,
conversation.
Stephanie's Bakery 514. It should be one of those links. In fact, it is the top link above you in the chat. But yeah, basically check that out. Support the cause. I mean, you might not cop a cake in the UK.
Yeah, right.
But it's in Montreal. But in general... She got the management services, the consulting shits. She got the
that's
design
it. Like,
work.
just let me know what you need, and we'll work together.
She a mogul of sorts, and fire ass mom shit. Taking all the little cute pictures with the kid, living it up, making everything look fancy and whatnot. But not for real. It was a pleasure to have you here. Do you have any like last things you want to say to the fine people of the internet?
Just I appreciate everybody who still supports the bakery and riding it out through this COVID time. We make it work. We have the birthdays going. We're always around, and for whatever you guys need, we would like to celebrate with you. So I appreciate you guys, and follow the bakery, Stephanie's Bakery 514. You know where to find me.
And we're gonna get her on Twitch, cause. Why wouldn't she be on Twitch? We'll have that conversation after the show. Bonnie, if you could start a raid, that would be super fire. And while she's doing that, thank y'all for being here with us. It really means a lot. I mean, that number was pretty much like there were people here the whole time. The chat was kind of moving. It's just the vibe that y'all take your time to come through and share that with us, like to share your time with us. It's
go
always,
on The Apprentice.
It's amazing. You should go.
That's wild. I would love to be on The Apprentice.
Is there any other game shows?
Game show. Oh my god, we're not even gonna get into game show talk. But yeah, like game shows. I would do any game show. I would do like Wheel of Fortune. I would do, like, oh my gosh, what else? Any game show. All the song ones, Shazam, like all of them.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So basically, if you have a game show opportunity for Stephanie,
I applied for Big Brother like a few times already. I bet people know this, but like,
shout
out
Neved saying you're super chill, much respect. I think so too. You're a whole
Thanks,
vibe.
man.
I think you really are a boss lady. I appreciate everyone watching this in the future too. I didn't want to forget about you. That's the YouTubes, the Spotify's, the podcast networks, the whatever. It's on places. I'll thank all of you. Like, subscribe, follow everything cool like that. If y'all want to support the shit, patreon.com/behind that suit. And then subscribe on Twitch. And then y'all know how to give us money. That shit. Appreciate everybody out there for real. And thanks again, Stephanie. It was a real vibe. Live long and prosper, everybody. Mm-hmm. And you can hit that rate button, Bonnie. Mm-hmm.